Hey guys, Shane here, Aus Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, an aircraft, or an add-on utility in different types of flight simulators, and we'll take it for a spin around the block, and I'll give you my first impressions and recommend, is it worth value for money? And in today's video, if you haven't guessed it already, we are checking out the new FlyJSim 727 version 3. Now, I've wanted to check this aircraft out ever since I heard it was in development for version 3, so I'm hoping it's going to live up to all the hype and expectation. But with been saying that, let's check it out. The team at FlyJSim were kindly enough to give me a copy to review, so thank you very much. But within saying that, all my thoughts and feedback on the aircraft will be mine and mine only. For everyone that is playing at home today, the Boeing 727 is a narrow-body 3-engined aircraft, obviously made by Boeing. It carries around about 149 to 189 passengers. They were produced between 1962 to 1984, built probably about 1800 plus. You could pick one up for about $22 million, but 1982. So awesome looking aircraft with a big tail up there and 3 engines, so it should be pretty interesting. So why don't we take a closer look at what's made this a version 3 aircraft opposed from the previous FlyJSim version 2. The 717 was a breeze to install. It's basically drag all the files to your X-Plane aircraft folder, as simple as that. It comes with a bunch of very detailed manuals ranging such as procedures, maneuvers, systems, and the whole manual, which have all been updated to suit version 3. The flight model has been reworked and upgraded and tuned to be compatible with X-Plane 11. It comes in 3 variants for the 727 series, which is the 100, the 200, and the 200F. And if you haven't noticed, the exterior and interior PBR textures have been fully upgradable to suit X-Plane 11. The 727 comes with a phenomenal amount of liveries to match all the different variants of the aircraft, and I will have to say the texture work and the liveries on this aircraft are absolutely insane, and I think in my opinion they have really got the wear and tear of being an old workhorse aircraft down pat. So if you like flying passengers or like flying cargo, the FlyJSim team have got you covered. And if you like me that like to look at your replays, they've upgraded the replay system similar to what they did with the 732. It looks sensational, and all the animations will work when you're doing your replays. But all in all, I would have to rate the 727 really up there when it comes to, in my opinion, one of the best looking aircraft going around in X-Plane 11 to date. The aircraft menus also have had a bit of updating and gone in for some cosmetic surgery too. And the really cool thing is they are all scalable just like this. So a big thumbs up and thank you very much for doing that, FlyJSim. The first menu on display is the configuration of your aircraft for takeoff and landing. We'll show you VR speeds and your flaps to get everything set up. Weight and balance, you can set your weight and balance for fuel yourself, or you can set it to be random and be surprised. For me, I don't like surprises, so I'm just gonna set it myself. Moving along to the options screen, you've got things like change to local time, callouts for co-pilots, yokes visible, weight to space for imperial, weight balance enabled, cockpit windows dirty, I like them dirty as well, TCAS, and we'll get to that a little bit later. And also you can turn on your aircar and your GPU, adjust all your sound, so everything that you need there to configure the aircraft is right there. And one of my favorite menus is the maintenance menu. This gives you the ability to switch on where your aircraft will have phase or not. So if you want to show great airmanship and look at your aircraft, switch it on. If you're a dangerous flyer and like flying inverted, well, leave it off. And if you don't like reading aircraft manuals, this might be a good start for you and using the checklist that comes with the 727. So now I think it's time to jump in the left seat and take a look. And if you were like me, the first time flying a 727, first jumping in the cockpit, you might have gone, "Oh, that seems to be a lot of buttons," and having a engineer section aircraft, it would be a bit to learn. Well, no. It's very similar to every other Boeing, it's just the buttons are placed around in a few different panels. The 727 interior cockpit sounds have had some work as well, with some Fmod sounds included, and also the manipulators and the additional mouse wheel support have been updated, so it makes you feel like you are in the cockpit switching on the aircraft yourself. I'm going to be a little bit quiet as I go through the process of starting up the APU so you can listen to the sounds of the 727 coming to life. How good did that sound? Now, it's been 7 minutes into the video and you're probably wondering, when is this guy going to get flying? So we're going to push the integrated pushback button, and what do you know, benefit pushback pops up. We will set where we want to go and we will get rolling. If you love the start of roaring engines in the morning, well, the 727 has got you covered. It has not just 2 engines, it has 3 and a trillion fuel pumps to go with that. So I'm going to just show you quickly a 1 engine start. So we'll go for number 3. But if you want to see a full flight video, stay tuned to the Aus Flight Simmer channel, because I will do a full in-depth full flight video coming to the channel soon. And that was the interior sounds of the engine start. Let's look at the exterior sounds of the engine start. Now it's time to get this show in the road. I think I've kept you in suspense enough, so we've got a very quick taxi today in Ketchikan, and basically got to go up to the hill here, do a U-turn, and we are ready to fly. One of the highlights of the 727 is how it handles on the ground and also how it handles in the air. When it comes to taxiing, this thing is an absolute breeze. It's not some of those other maniac aircraft in X-Plane that veer left and right of the taxi line all over the place. This thing actually moves and it feels like you are one with your rudder pedals when it comes to the FlyJSim. So I'm not fluffing that up. That's exactly how I feel when I taxied this aircraft, and it was a nice surprise. So we are all now configured for our flight. I'll be a little bit quiet. It's the only chance I get to be quiet for the whole video, so I'll come back to you shortly once the wheels are up, and we are going to find where the magenta line is in the 727. As you can see there, the 727 rotates very smooth and nicely. And one of the things that's going to help you do that in this aircraft, it has a little click spot that will put the trim wheel exactly where you need it. But you also can do it yourself, but if you're someone like me that always forgets the trim wheel, that little click spot is perfect. We are going to navigate a little bit to the right, and as you can see, there is no magenta line that I'm using in this aircraft, no GPS. So we are using VORs today. So as you can see, I've got a course dialed in of 144, and we're going to make our way to our first waypoint, which is 16 nautical miles away. The cool thing with the 727 being steam gauges and old-fashioned navigation is you've got something to do all the time. Now, don't get frightened by not knowing how to navigate on the old radials and old-fashioned way of flying, because if you spend a little bit of time reading the manuals or watching a couple of YouTube videos, you'll be able to pick it up very quickly. Also, being an older aircraft, you need to manage your pitch and your speed. You can do this a couple of ways. Using the autopilot, you can do pitch control or IAS mode. For this flight, we're going to rock it all the way up, and we're going to pump it into IAS mode in a little bit and get up to our cruising altitude. So we're going to do that right now. And we have captured the localize over there, so we're going to begin a turn left. The only other thing for me to manage is my VS speed, so I'm going to throttle down a little bit, so that way we're not going to keep rocketing to the skies like the Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket. So we're going to jump into some cinematic views, and I'll take a look at the 727 as she flies in the skies, and then we'll come back and we'll take a bit of an in-depth look of the cockpit before we prep for a nice sunset landing into Anchorage. We have reached our cruising altitude, so you're able to roam around the cabin. But before you do that, please take a look at some of the gauges that have been included. The new weather radar and TCAS system. So that's the TCAS system. I didn't use it for takeoff, as I knew there wasn't any traffic around, but also the weather radar. If you have a look, there is one little small dot that could be an issue, but I think we might be able to fly around it. But I tell you what, when you're flying in some rough weather, you're seeing some nice beautiful colours in there. that's enough to get the blood pressure up, and it's going to be a good departure or takeoff when you see that sort of stuff. Another upgraded system from version 2 to version 3 is the pressurized system. So we're going to change our cruising altitude to 32,000 feet, and you can see the needle adjusting, which is a nice added touch. So make sure you get your pressurizing right so we don't kill ourselves and kill other people. We are now coming to the pointy end of the flight as the sun is setting. My thoughts on the cockpit is absolutely sensational, but my only gripe is the cabin hasn't been modelled and is not included in the FlyJSim. But as you can see, the night lighting of the aircraft is insane. So let's check out the outside as well. So we are now on our approach into Anchorage. It's been a beautiful flight so far in the 727 FlyJSim. The first flight I actually did in this aircraft a few days ago was I did a pattern flight around YMML Melbourne, and one of the things that got me is as you can see, I'm just trying to check and make sure I've got my flaps at the right setting here. Is that this aircraft is an absolute breeze to fly handed. It was really fun to fly. I could actually do a pattern in this aircraft at about 1,800 feet, no problems, and that's one of the cool things. So what I would suggest, not like me on this approach, but if you fly this aircraft, you might want to hand fly it a little bit longer before you put the autopilot on, because I tell you what, it is a load of fun. So it does look like the localizer has caught it, and we're about to go on the glide slope very shortly for an ILS landing. I did forget to mention, I made jokes before about trying to find the Magenta line. The cool thing is it does have the default X-Plane FMC model for the aircraft, so you can go in the menu and switch it on, which is great for me. I like flying around other parts of the world, but in Australia, in my home country, we don't have many navigational VORs and MBDs and all that sort of stuff to fly around. So the old-fashioned flying there, you really need to use an FMC to get around. But all the other parts of the world, like United States and Europe, this thing using the old-fashioned navigation aids is absolute hoot. So we are on the final, or very short on the final now, so I'm going to be quiet, so please enjoy the landing, and I'll come back to you once we touch down with my final thoughts.
Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
I tell you what, if I can do landings like that, this must be a beautiful aircraft to fly. How is that? If you watch some of my other videos, you've probably never seen a landing like that before from the Aus Flight Simmer, so that was a lot of fun. We're going to make our way, once I make sure the auto brake doesn't stop us in the middle of the runway. We're going to turn off here. We'll take a quick look at the replay, and I fibbed before. We're going to have a look at the replay first, and then I'll come back to you with my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on the FlyJSim 727. Is it value for money, and was it worth the wait? Now, the only issues that I have with this aircraft are a couple of things. The cabin hasn't been modelled as far as I can tell. Well, I couldn't get into it anyway. And I couldn't see anywhere where the left and right doors open up, but although the rear door will drop down from the back. And the other thing, because the cabin is not modelled, it doesn't seem to be that the windows on the side of the aircraft are see-through, or you can see into the cabin. Now, if you can put all of those things aside, because I will say they are minor, everything else in this aircraft is absolutely superb. The way she sounds, the way she looks, and the way she flies is absolutely phenomenal, and I can't fault in any of those other parts of this aircraft. So if you have X-Plane 11 and you love airliners, I would not even hesitate to recommend going out and getting the FlyJSim 727. It is absolutely awesome. So that concludes our video. If you liked it, please hit a thumbs up. I will do a full in-depth flight video so you can see how we do the startups and whatnot at a later date. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button for more content. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Shane, Aus Flight Simmer. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, goodbye.